Our next speaker was actually the first speaker that we asked to join. So I've known Liz for a couple months now, honestly, and it's been such a pleasure getting to know her. Her story is amazing. Join me in welcoming her.
Hello. My name is Elizabeth Foshe. You can call me Liz. I'm double majoring in political science and philosophy with concentrations in civil rights and law. I'm taking 21 credits this semester. I work 30 hours a week. And this summer, I will be the first person in my family to earn a college degree. To understand how I got where I am today, you need to understand where my family comes from. Over 40 years ago, in the city of Guadalajara, Jalisco, my mother's parents, had to make a very difficult decision. With no education, no money, and no food to feed themselves or their newborn daughter, they decided to cross the border illegally and come to this country in search of a better life. 20 years later, my mother had spent her whole life in a country that would not claim her as one of their own. She joined the military and it offered her benefits, including the GI Bill benefit that she would later pass on to me. And if it were not for these benefits, I would not be able to afford to be a student at VCU. Even with this help, getting to college was difficult. The GI Bill didn't pay for the applications or for the SAT fees or the transcript fees. Having to navigate everything on my own and not knowing if what I was doing was even correct, and then seeing firsthand the financial burden that I was putting on my family, it was difficult. And then when I got to college, I started working at this crappy little pizza place, working 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. shifts and making $7.75 an hour. While I was trying to balance paying rent and buying textbooks, I would look over at my friends who could easily ask mom and dad for a little extra help. That was not something that I could do. Meanwhile, I was running out of class, taking phone calls with the bank about utilities that were about to be shut off and payments that didn't go through. I remember just last year actually crying in the stairwell of the school, wondering how I was going to afford my next meal, then having to compose myself and then go back to an hour of lecture. And all the while I'm sitting there looking around thinking, I am the only one who knows what this feels like. I am completely alone in this. The spring of my first year at VCU, I tried to kill myself. I'm not embarrassed to say that, because I know that for so many of us, that is the reality of the situation, and it needs to be talked about. When you're poor, when you're the first in your family to take this step, and if you're struggling with mental illness on top of that, it can feel like things are never going to get better. I know what it feels like to be so hopeless that you can see no way out. I know what it feels like to miss meals to make ends meet, and to be working so much that you can't make it to office hours. And even if you could go to office hours, what would you actually say? You spend all your time thinking you tricked someone into thinking you belong here. Every moment feels like you're just walking on eggshells and waiting until the moment when you're finally found out. I remember feeling this way in one of my classes last year. We were talking about women and property and ownership of the body. I wanted to ask a question about sex workers, but I kept telling myself that it was a stupid question and that I shouldn't ask it. But then there was this little voice in the back of my head that just wouldn't leave me alone, so I decided, you know what, I'll wait until everyone leaves, and that way I'll ask, I won't embarrass myself in front of everyone. I was surprised when my professor not only welcomed my question, but said that she had been waiting for someone to bring out that exact point in class. The conversation went on, and we got to start talking about my plans, what I wanted to do after graduation. I talked a little bit about law school or graduate school, but to me, these were kind of just far off dreams. Things that, I wanted to do, but didn't seem affordable. I told her after graduating, I'd probably just take a year and work, saving money. And that's when she encouraged me to check out the Women's Studies program at the University of Alabama. She thought it might pertain to my interests, and I thought it did too, so I decided to check it out. She gave me the dean's email, and I'll be honest, I was really scared. The email message sat in my drafts for probably like a month before I actually sent it. But his response was, if accepted, we will offer you a graduate teaching assistantship, which covers tuition and provides around $1,200 a month in income for the year. And in that moment, everything in my life kind of changed, and graduate school went from a dream to a tangible reality. I started getting my things together to apply, but even as I did, I was still questioning the whole thing. What if I spent my money on the GRE only to do poorly? And what if I paid the application fee only to not get in? It's not like I had the money to waste, but my professor, Lindsay, she believed in me, and it was her belief in me that kept, the possibility alive in my heart. The last push I needed, I received from Professor Hirsch. He taught politics of genocide and human rights, and it had been one of my favorite classes I had taken at VCU. One day as I was waiting to talk to my advisor about registration for the next year, I noticed him in his office next door, and I asked, hey, can I sit with you in your office while I wait? And he was like, yeah. So we ended up talking about class and about politics and about things in general. As the conversation went on, he started telling me about his own life. Just like me, he was a first-generation, low-income student from an immigrant family. He managed to get into college and went on to pioneer the field of genocide studies. He asked about my plans after graduation. I was like, I don't know. And then to my surprise, he said, you should think about graduate school. About a week later, I ended up asking him for the recommendation letter. He said he'd be happy to give it to me and that he thought I was making the right choice. The other day, I got the news from Alabama. I was accepted and will receive full tuition funding plus an extra stipend. Thank you. But I couldn't have done this without the support that I received from my professors. With their help, I've started to become more confident in my own abilities, and as a result, I applied and was accepted to intern with Virginia State Senator Jennifer McClellan, and will continue working with her at her office through the summer. I am now also the social media chair of Pi Sigma Alpha, the National Political Science Honor Society at VCU. And this spring, I also plan on presenting some of my own original research at our student research conference. I'm doing all of these things that I used to be honestly just too scared to even apply for, and now I'm wondering why I was even scared in the first place. Once I realized to let go of the voice in my head telling me I wasn't good enough, and I started doing things that scared me instead, I realized, hey, maybe, I can do what I want, and maybe I can even afford it. Being hopeful is a risk, and it is an investment, but I promise you guys, you are worth that investment, and the hard work does pay off. I'm graduating this year, a year early, and will be pursuing a master's degree at the University of Alabama this fall. I will graduate at 22 years old with 0 debt, and I will go on to be a scholar and an advocate. I believe in myself and my ability to do these things. Knowing that other people have been where I am, and that there are programs just like this one aimed to help students like us, makes me hopeful for the future. If I've learned anything from all of this, it's to believe that your individual voice matters. Find the people who have been where you are, talk to them, and ask them questions. Insert yourself into the narrative. As first-generation college students, we bring something to universities that they want to see. Our stories and our perspectives. Don't be afraid of your professors, and don't be afraid to mess up. Don't let your fear of failing stop you from taking a chance, and never doubt your strength or your talent just because things are difficult. Thank you to everyone who helped me get here, including Lindsay, my professor who's back there, and rest in peace, Professor Hirsch. Thank you.